For countless generations, humans wandered, a restless tide drifting across the earth. Hunters, gatherers, nomads, bound to the seasons, they followed herds and foraged the land. Fire kept the darkness at bay, but nothing kept hunger from their door. Life was raw, beautiful, fleeting, and unforgiving, but then something shifted. Somewhere along a riverbank or in a sunlit clearing, a weary hand pressed a seed into the soil, and the earth, silent and ancient, offered its first harvest. That single act changed everything. For tens of thousands of years, this was life. You woke with the sun and walked until dusk, scanning the horizon for movement. A herd of bison meant food for weeks. A missed opportunity meant hunger. Spears, stone tools, and fire were your lifelines. The land was your provider and your punisher. But this life was fragile. The earth could betray you with drought, predators, or bitter winters. The cycle of feast and famine was relentless. Yet even as they roamed, early humans observed the land. They learned its rhythms. They carried its seeds. It started slowly. At first, people scattered wild grains near their camps, returning weeks later to find fresh growth. Then they waited, and the plants returned. Soon they no longer needed to chase herds across the plains. The land became their ally. Wheat, barley, lentils, the first cultivated crops, turned wandering bands into settlers. They turned their eyes to the animals too. The once wild wolf became the watchful dog. Goats, sheep, and cattle, once roaming free, were corralled. Meat, milk, hides. Humanity had harnessed the power of nature. The hunt was no longer a necessity, it was a choice. In a sweeping arc of land known as the Fertile Crescent, stretching from the Nile in Egypt to the valleys of Mesopotamia, civilization stirred. Here, on the banks of the Tigris and Euphrates, humans sowed the first farms. In villages like Jericho, stone walls rose, protecting early homes from invaders and the wild. And in Anatolia, cattle hoyuk blossomed. Here, around 7,500 BCE, thousands lived in mud-brick homes, pressed so closely together they walked on rooftops instead of streets. They painted their walls with wild bulls, geometric symbols, and enigmatic gods, a glimpse into early spirituality. Beneath their homes they buried their dead, keeping their ancestors close, life and death side by side. And then came surplus. With farming came more food than a single family could eat. So they traded. Grain for obsidian, hides for copper, pottery for tools. The first markets were born, barter became culture. And with permanence came new rituals. People began to worship the sun, the rain, and the harvest. They crafted idols and carved symbols into stone, early echoes of language and myth. Civilization was more than just survival now, it was memory. And so it began. With each harvest, humanity planted the seeds of the future. Villages grew into towns, towns became cities, cities gave rise to empires. From a single seed pressed into ancient soil, the course of history was forever changed. The dawn of civilization was not a sudden blaze, it was a slow, steady sunrise that illuminated the path toward everything we are today. And in the fields of time, we are still reaping what they sowed.